Hello and welcome to the Metabolic Balance Stories podcast. This is where we share real stories and insights into the Metabolic Balance program. And I am delighted to say today that I am joined by Richard Barrett. Richard was a client of a wonderful metabolic balance coach, Rebecca Tarver. And hello, Richard.
Hello, Cherry. How are you?
I'm good, and it's really cool to be talking to you today. Thank you so much for giving your time and joining me.
Oh, you're most welcome. It's a pleasure.
So, I know nothing about your story, so I just want to know what led you to find metabolic balance.
Actually, it's a interesting story. Our neighbour had actually done the metabolic balance before and had told us a little bit about it, which we found, quite interesting. And we were only really properly introduced to it by a friend of ours who had done a contra deal with Rebecca Tarver. And as a result of that, she offered us a free or the free value of the metabolic balance to use as part of that contra deal. And my wife took it up straight away because we'd tried a few different diets and eating plans and what have you, and nothing really worked so well. And it was inconvenient and difficult, and it didn't work for both of us at any given time. So it would work reasonably well for me, but not for her, and things like that. It wasn't a really high focus for us either, but my wife was suffering tremendously from a lot of inflammation. They actually thought she might have had a pretty nasty case of arthritis. Can't recall what that really bad one is, and that's the one, yeah. So they started going down that pathway, which is not looking good. So she does hair and makeup professionally, and she got to a point where she could only do one client in the day, and then she'd just have to lay down and rest. She was in so much pain. She was taking painkillers, pain meds for that. And so, yeah, so when she was presented with this opportunity, she thought, well, look, hey, I'll definitely give it a go. So we'd heard about how well it had helped our neighbour there, and so she took it up, and within about, I think it was about a week or two, she was able to book clients in full day, and from morning right through till nighttime, and and she was off the meds, and she lost, I think, about 6 or 7 kilos within that time, which wasn't actually the primary focus. It was more for her health. The weight loss was just a bonus. And anyway, a few weeks into that, she said, "Why don't you do it?" I said, "Well, I didn't realize that I was actually offered that as well." So she said, "No, yeah, absolutely, 100%." I thought, well, I'd be silly not to, because I was suffering a few sort of chronic effects, I suppose, on my health. And having seen the difference it made to my wife, I thought, well, I'd be silly not to take this opportunity. And so I took it on, and within uh, within a couple of weeks, I think it is, I lost about 7.5 kilos. I'm only about 170 centimeters tall, and I managed to peak at about 98 kilos. So it was a bit, yeah, it was a bit like that slow boiled frog where you're just slowly getting fatter and fatter and fatter.
Yeah. How old are you, Richard? Would you mind sharing?
Yeah, certainly. I just turned 50 last year. And look, don't get me wrong, the journey of getting fatter was a lovely journey. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I I enjoy the food. I love my food, and the destination's not such a good destination, and the road back just wasn't even worth considering to a degree. And so some of the things I was suffering from were clusters of migraines fairly regularly, debilitating. I would really strange stuff like pins and needles, like almost a prickly pins and needles effect down in my left foot, and my toes, and occasionally it just felt like someone just jabbed me with a needle in my toe, just right out of the blue. And swelling in the heel and pain there, and almost arthritis under the foot. So it seemed to all focus down on the left foot. And for probably the last 30 years, I've suffered from terrible reflux, and I've lived on Gaviscon. I've had Gaviscon strategically placed everywhere, in the car, at work, next to the bed, in the travel bag, everywhere. And I just lived on it. So anyway, that right from starting the metabolic balance diet, I have not taken any Gaviscon since at all. I haven't had any migraines. The pins and needles and all that foot pain pretty much went away. I do have to admit, though, I've been pretty debaucherous in my diet just in the last few weeks. We went up to Ellie Beach for this friend's partner's 50th, and it just led on to another thing, and what this has highlighted to me is the direct correlation between what you eat and how you feel. Because just in these last couple of weeks, I've started to get a little bit of that pain back and things like that. So the beauty of that, though, or of the metabolic balance diet, is that I know exactly what I need to do. And I've now just jumped straight back on being a lot stricter with my foods, which isn't a problem. I've found the whole process so easy. I've not had any cravings. I've really enjoyed eating what I've been eating. It's actually simplified our eating plan, I suppose, our eating habits. It's been really quick and easy to prepare, even though my wife and I have had quite different foods that we can eat. And yeah, and I thought at first, I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. We're going to probably have 3 different meals being prepared overnight time. That's going to be inconvenient, what have you. But it absolutely wasn't. Some of the food are pretty good premium foods that we're eating, and you would think that your budget would go up, but it's actually gone down. And a lot of that is because of the simplicity of the food, even though it's really, really good food. So, part of my diet's salmon. So I've been enjoying that thoroughly. But you're not wasting anywhere near as much food. You're not buying a whole lot of food to then go and make up something and all these complex dishes and things like that. And probably, I mean, we've generally always eaten well too. And this is the interesting thing about it is, we don't buy pre-prepared foods or anything like that. We, make all our own food pretty much from scratch. However, I'd say one of our weak points would be the sauces that you would add. So you'd buy your passatas, and I was a bit of a condiments person. So our fridge was,
Yeah, you had a whole fridge full of condiments, basically. Yeah.
And I've always loved my condiments. And so that was one of the things I thought was going to be a bit of a challenge, but honestly, none of it has been. So, and I'd have a staff lunch meeting. We'd do regular staff lunch meetings, and the guys would choose what they wanted to have for that lunch meeting. So I'd be buying burgers and so on and so forth. And I'd go and pick up the burgers, and I'd bring them back, and I'd smell them, and I'd be hungry, and I'd think, I know they're nice, they smell great, but I had no compulsion to grab a chip or do anything like that, because I was really just actually looking forward to eating my food. It's funny how your tastes adapt very quickly to it, and you actually rediscover the joy, I suppose, of the natural flavors of the food.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so getting rid of the condiments wasn't actually an issue for it. None of it was an issue for me.
It's funny how we can build up things that we think are problems, but actually when it's the time, it's not a problem really at all. It's not. There's no issue there. What we thought would be an issue.
Correct. And there's obviously something in the process because we did a keto diet there for a while. And I can tell you, I would wake up at 10 o'clock at night just out of the blue for no reason and think, I've got to have some Jats crackers. I don't know why. I don't normally have those, but that is the thing I need to eat right now. And I really want to have that. And we don't even keep Jats crackers at the house,
Yeah, but with MB that didn't happen.
Not at all. So I went through the 2 days of prep, which I guess is like a reset for your gut and gut flora and everything like that. It just seems to simplify everything back out. And I'm not an expert, but just from my experience, I'm kind of putting it down to that reset. And I was very, very strict, especially for that first phase, like really strict. And I felt that was the foundations that the whole everything else is built on. So if you weaken that, you're going to weaken everything through it. So anyway, I was very strict on that, and the straight away the first day of getting off those vegetables was immediately, the food, the flavor, everything was. I'm guessing anything would have been good after just eating the same thing for 2 days. But yeah, it really was. Everything was amazing. So it reset my gut flora, it reset my tastes, and I just, to start with, I just had a bit of salmon, some brown mushrooms, bit of pumpkin, whacked it in the air fryer. So it literally, I pre-cooked the pumpkin because that takes longer. So I'd literally just throw that together.
Yeah, you did the prep that was needed. Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, and look, if you've got the oven on for something else, well, you just cut a heap of pumpkin up, whack it in there, pre-cook that, and say whack it in the fridge, and then literally my meals would be quickly defrost the salmon. So there's about 4 or 5 minutes. Whack the mushrooms in there, whack the pumpkin in, whack it in the air fry. 10 or 12 minutes later, I've got this magnificent meal, and it's done and it's ready. And gone from being combinations of food, everything, I got to straight away. I wanted to start separating my food out. I was like, oh, just a mouthful of salmon, that's so good. And now I have a little mouthful of mushrooms, and I was just really enjoying the flavor of each individual thing, which was quite foreign, but very rewarding. So for me, the food side of things, it was fantastic. Because I think if you present it with too much complexity, it's overwhelming. You just think, I just don't even know where to start here, and you're more likely to deviate from it.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the interesting things, just from what you were saying as well, is if you, and like coming back, you said as well that where you'd found yourself was this sort of like frog in a boiling pot, wasn't it? You'd slowly, with slow boiling, you'd put the weight on, which is such a common thing. I mean, like you're 50, you mentioned, so many people are in this sort of 40s, 50s, where they're feeling that their health has gone in the direction that they want. But then also you mentioned that it felt really overwhelming to fix it.
Yeah, and because we'd, I suppose, dabbled in a few things here and there, and it hadn't really worked for us. And you hear the same stories over and over again with so many diets and so many quick fixes and everything like that. Yeah, okay, you lose the weight and then you're straight back on. And there's a lot to say for that. Largely, probably because you just go straight back to your original habits, which explains a lot. But in my case too, I was living week to week. I was living on that much coffee, and I had put my whole condition down to my age and lifestyle, being working behind a desk. Reached this age, and I'd pretty much written myself off as a drone for the rest, whatever remained. And like you say, that slow boiling frog, it just creeps up, and then you just give yourself into that. And I really didn't. Well, to put it simply, coming out the other end of the metabolic balanced diet, I feel I regained 20 years of my health and rejuvenation. Like I felt like someone had gone through and lubricated all the joints, all the muscles that I should be using. I was back to using instead of compensating with other muscles because I'm trying to get around my body shape and things like that. And look, I wasn't round. I wasn't like massive or anything like that, but I felt swollen and bloated and pressure and just pain everywhere. And it was like, I'm not going to gym. You know, people go, oh, just go to gym, just go to gym. Yeah, no, by the time I get home, I'm so mentally exhausted and what have you. And in the morning, I'm struggling just to get started. I'd be having 3 or 4 double shots of coffee before I can even mentally focus on anything, food, a shower, or anything like that. And every Saturday, I'd write off. I'd just hit the wall, and then I'd start to just get into full action on Sunday, and then before I know it, I'm going back to work.
And this is the reality. I really do feel for so many people that really, as well, you've worked hard, you work hard all week, and then you actually can't enjoy life. So actually taking this time to reset yourself, because in effect, that's what you've done. I mean, this is why, reset your body. Metabolic Balance does this reset, rejuvenates, like you said, gave you these 20, took you back 20 years. And then now you can actually look forward to essentially should be a bit of a prime of life too, where you can, enjoy yourself.
Well, it should be. And so, yeah, exactly. So, within a couple of weeks, like before going to work one morning, I'm just springing out of bed. I'm down to I had to go down to one coffee a day, and that was my first coffee because I was pinging, I was bouncing off the walls, which does not happen to me. So I'd be up early and I'm mowing the lawn before I go to work. That's just ridiculous. It's completely unheard of, and that I'd never expected that I'd be doing anything like that from the state of myself just only a few weeks prior.
Yeah, and that's it. And like you said, that's the power of food. I mean, like the fueling your body, once you've got that optimal health and you realize how your body should be feeling, it's kind of incredible, isn't it, to realize, well, how bad you were feeling before, but how it was just like, okay, well, you didn't even notice.
Absolutely. And I think too, you know, with taking this journey as opposed to other sort of methods that we've tried, is each step of the way has its own rewards. So, for example, that first day after the weekend, I decided to use a weekend because I figured I'd probably end up in a coma from lack of coffee over that weekend. And I would not be able to function. So I'd resigned myself to spend the whole time on the couch, between the couch and the bed. And it wasn't that bad. I didn't suffer from withdrawals from coffee or anything, which is odd because I do drink a lot of coffee. My wife drinks one coffee a day and she did suffer withdrawals. So we're all different in that way. But
All different.
correct. But look, every single day after that, once I started on my sort of the non-oils or no oils period there, every single day I felt so much better that there was no way I was going to derail that, because every day I was like, well, every day I felt so much better. How am I going to feel tomorrow? And you don't want to sabotage it. So yeah, so the benefits were definitely there. And look, and it's not hard to do. Like I said, you don't have the cravings. I at one stage had to take my kids to Westfield, just down the road from us. It's a massive one. It's in Chermside, and we're there from mid morning onwards. And of course, oh, Dad, I'm hungry. Can I have some sushi? Yeah, sure. So off we go to sushi, and I'm sitting there. I'm not eating sushi, and there they are eating sushi. And I love sushi, but I was fine. And then my second daughter with her friends, oh, Dad, I'm really, really hungry. Can we go and have sushi? I think, okay, no worries. So now it's lunchtime and I'm hungry. And so we've had the sushi, and I think, oh, I've got to eat something soon because I am getting really hungry. It's the right time to eat. So I went down to Coles and grabbed 180 grams, I think, of shredded chicken, a cucumber, and a carrot. Probably looked like a complete weirdo with my hand in my bag of chicken and carrot and cucumber as I'm walking along. But that's how committed I was to making sure that I did this right through that, and also to out of respect for the fact that this was given to us, which is very generous. And so, firstly, a lot of respect for that. But secondly, just every step of the way, the rewards were there, not to derail it. And it wasn't sort of the enticement to derail it was taken out as well. So it just made natural sense to keep doing it.
Yeah, amazing. So if you're when you're talking about this with other people, because people must have been noticing the difference in your health.
Yeah, and that's the first thing. They go, man, Richard, you look like you've lost a keg or two. And so, yeah, absolutely. And I feel amazing. People say, look, you even looking at you, your face, your eyes, everything. You just look so much healthier and so much better. So you can see the difference very, very clearly, and that starts the conversation. And then you say, oh yeah, no, well, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I've done, and explain to them, where you're at and the difference it's made. And straight away they're going, well, I reckon that'd help me. And I think the challenging thing is for someone to have to pay for something. And I'll be completely frank with you. If someone had approached me, let's say my neighbor approached me and said, hey, Richard, you should try this metabolic balance. It'll cost you this much. I would have just put it in the same basket as everything else. And I would have gone, nah, you know what? I think I might spend that money on some really good wine and some really good food. And but thank you very much. Now, having done that, I would pay twice that for what I've got out of it.
This is a perennial problem that, I mean, like, one of the things you're really paying for as well is the professional support, the personalized professional support that you get. And you got that with Rebecca.
Oh, 100%. And Rebecca's knowledge goes way beyond just the parameters of the metabolic balance diet. Like, we had conversations about all sorts of other things, and her knowledge is fantastic. So yeah, very broad, very professional. I would I have recommended Rebecca to quite a few people, including my sister. She flew over from New Caledonia, doesn't speak English, so I sat in on all of the FaceTime sessions to help translate and convey things and what have you for that first month. She had been written off by all the doctors in Newcastle, all the specialists. She was in so much pain. She was on morphine. She was she was having to use those TENS machines to every day. She would spend an hour or two on the TENS machines. She was on the morphine. She Every time she ate, she would bloat out. She felt like she looked like she was pregnant. She was just in so much pain, and the doctors had and specialists had just basically said to her, look, you're going to have to Google stuff because we don't know what to do with you. She'd try and walk every day, and she would, just to try and do something, keep circulation going, and she'd end up with like a tennis ball on the side of her ankle. So this massive fluid buildup.
How old's your sister? Just to put it in perspective.
She's a little bit younger than me, so she turns 50 in the next month or so.
That's too. Yeah, it's wrong. Yeah. Okay. So how did she do?
Yeah, amazingly. So she spent the month over here really strict. Like, she was really strict because this was it for her. She had no other option. So she was very, very strict. She stopped taking the medications and everything just beforehand, and just tried to clear everything out. So she just suffered through what she could. The 2 days of prep work was pretty tough for her. I'm guessing because she had so much to get out of the system. So, and she, the whole time she was here, she never used a TENS machine, never took any medication at all.
Because she didn't need to.
She didn't need to. No, that was it. Within a very short period of time, and she could feel and see the difference within days. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think something else to add to that is that even if you think you're eating healthy, so let's say you're eating a lot of fruit and a lot of vegetables and salads and this and that and what have you, it seems to be that even if it's healthy, your body's almost allergic to some things, and it just does. While you're trying to do the right thing, the general practice that everyone recommends, you actually probably poison yourself to a degree. And so by fine tuning those foods, you're actually really putting the right foods into your system to rebuild and help your system repair itself and what have you. I don't know.
It's really that difference between generic advice and actually personalized advice, because that's the thing. I mean, you said your plan and your wife's plan was different, but you had, you would get completely different people. Your sister are completely different. You need to find the fuel that really fuels you and as a person, not just, oh, everybody eats the same broccoli and tomato and chicken breast, for example. It's just crazy to even think that all of us as human beings, we should all eat exactly the same healthy diet. So that's where metabolic balance with its personalization really comes in, and why, I love talking to people and just hearing the stories, because it's so important to give people the win. Your sister, your wife haven't had the win to get things changing for years and years and years.
And again, because it creeps up on us, and we just put so much to our age and lifestyle, and it's like, well, I don't really have much room to change my lifestyle too much, or this or that. And so you just carry on, and you just write yourself off to a degree, to be honest with you. And the big thing is that the massive difference in the very short period of time. And it's not one of these crash diets. It's not one of these short, quick fixes. It's your own body just being given what it needs to fix itself and bring everything back into place. And it just works.
Yeah, the way I sometimes, because I've been doing this for years now, but the way I describe it is, it's like I see the body take this huge sigh of relief to say, "Oh my God, thank God we can actually, work now, and everything can start to rebalance and be fueled."
And you feel that.
Yeah, and it's incredible the different symptoms that you'd almost written off as, well, this is the stuff that you can do about that.
Yeah. Or this is me forever. Yeah. This is what I've got left.
Yeah, yeah, because you probably would have said, "Oh yeah, reflux. There's nothing I can do about this reflux. I've had it for 30 years. I just have to constantly keep taking the Gaviscon." Because you should have taken shares out in Gaviscon. Clearly, the amount of money you've spent on it.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. And it's just that inconvenience of having to have it all the time, everywhere you go.
Yeah. So, what would you say to somebody like you who says, to do it? I mean, like you just said already, you might have said, all right, now I'll spend the money on a nice bottle, a couple of bottles of wine and a meal out, or whatever. What would you now? What can we do about that?
Well, I've said that to people. I've actually said that to people. I've said, look, if anyone had said to me to do this before having tried it myself, I'd have said no. I'm not going to pay money or whatever it is, just for something I just don't know and yeah, can't have any evidence for myself of being any benefit to me. But now having gone through it, I would pay twice that. I mean, what price do you pay on rejuvenating yourself by 20 years and just how much better you feel every single day as a result of it? Yeah, you pay many more times than that. And in honesty, and I said this to Rebecca, the government, I think the government should actually subsidize this for people who have chronic issues that are referred by their GPs. So because if a lot of people suffering from a lot of these chronic ailments that could easily be fixed by diet, like it's phenomenal, and it would be such a broad range. Can you imagine how much money the government would save in the medical and the public health system by those people not going to the doctors and having to get treated for this and that and so on and so forth?
And also them being able to now do their own passion and work and actually come back into and have a place in society, not just be crippled by their chronic health, which is it just stops so much potential.
Yeah, and I see people walking around me now, and I think, yeah, I reckon you can see, I can see what they're feeling is a lot of it was what I was feeling. I think, man, you know, I wonder how much what you're taking to try and get rid of the pain, which then creates another issue that needs to be dealt with, probably, with more medication and so on and so forth. And you just see people spiral into these issues. And again, maybe some of these people should stop and look at what they're spending on medication and all that to mask what the problem is, and go, wow, you know what? If I just spent this, added all this up and spent it once.
Yeah, because that's the point as well. It's a one-time learning, understanding what your foods are. Now you don't spend any further money, do you? I mean, it's like you just eat your beautiful foods, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Well, it's cheaper for me now because I'm actually, even though some of the, like when you go and buy salmon, you go, yeah, that's an expensive thing to buy. But even when you go and buy yourself, so much of it I look at and I go, oh, that's $3.80 for a whole bunch of brown mushrooms. And that's only $3 something for a big pumpkin that's going to last me for probably a week and a half or 2 weeks. And there's my whole meal plan for the week or the fortnight is actually cheaper, even though I'm eating really good foods like scallops, seafood, all this sort of stuff, which, straight away in your head, it's like, that's really, really expensive stuff. But I can tell you from my own experience and what I've been paying, it's cheaper. It's worked out cheaper. Yeah, and it's strange. And you're learning new things to use too. So instead of using all the rubbish oils out there to cook with and all that, ghee. So when Rochelle said to me, yeah, I am using ghee, I thought that sounds disgusting. I don't. What is that? I don't think I want any of that. And she said, no, it's just clarified butter. And I think, well, I do love, say, prawns cooked in butter and garlic and, yeah.
Butter. Oh, butter it's delicious. Its food needs to be delicious. And so I think so often we've lost track of what real whole food, simply beautifully cooked in 10 minutes can be. It doesn't, and like you said, it's the cost implication for, I remember having one gorgeous client who, we felt so much better that she actually got a new job and had a massive pay rise because of doing MB as well. There's so much benefit from feeling better.
Well, that's because you're taking yourself back 20 or so years, or however long you've been sort of destroying yourself. Um, and it's as simple as that, isn't it? You've given yourself the mental clarity, the physical energy, the health. When when Rebecca actually got my bloods done, and this is another thing, those bloods seem to be really quite thorough, probably more thorough than what you'd normally get. I try and get an annual checkup. I go and do my bloods every year with the doctor and what have you, and this was clearly much more thorough than that. And Rebecca rang me after she got the bloods and she said, "Oh, look, Richard, just out of duty of care, your creatine levels are really, really high." And I said, "Okay, what does that mean?" She said, "Well, that's to do with muscle degradation generally."
So that might have been the creatine kinase level, probably. Yeah.
She said, "You really should go and see your doctor about this." It was 900 and something. And apparently normal levels are between 0 and 180 or 190 or something like that. Yeah, yeah. So I was like, okay, no worries. So I went to the doctor and showed it to him, and he said, "Oh, because she said, heart is the first thing you worry about, right?"
You've just got to rule that out. Yeah.
Yeah, correct, exactly. So, and she said, don't get alarmed or anything like that. Don't have a heart attack or anything, but go and check it out, right? Exactly. So, and the doctor said the same thing to me. He said, "Mate, I want you to leave here and drive straight to the pathologist with this and get another blood test." So, by this stage, I was a few days into the diet, and so I went and did it. And a couple of days later, he's come back and said, "Hey, look, you've gone down about halfway. I think it was around 400 and something on the second one. So he said, I'll give you another referral, and I want you to go and do another test in about a week's time so we can get a baseline on where you're at with this. So I did that, and it was down at around 170, I think, for the third one. So it's interesting. So I don't know whether I was heading for a heart attack or had some sort of something had happened, but I didn't have any kind of loss of strength or anything like that generally in my body, anything that I wouldn't expect from my age and lifestyle anyway. So that in itself was actually quite an interesting factor that to come out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think, well, I mean, that is definitely the case. We use the pathology in order to really understand the health of the body as a whole. But again, it's really important to be under the care of your doctor at all times, and that's where we want metabolic balance clients to be fully supported. But it's a great way of also assessing your health and just seeing where you never know where you're subconsciously kind of sleepwalking into health. And it's so cool when you pull yourself back and say, do you know what? I want things to be different before you have an actual serious health crisis that really does stop you in your tracks. And then you've got the future. I mean, this is often the way I look at things. It's like, who knows what you're going to be able to do in the next 30 years, because actually you're feeling as you should.
Exactly, not 20 years older than you are.
Yeah, and you haven't written off your life saying, okay, yeah, no, this is all just old and I can't do that.
And that is exactly what you do, because you just, I suppose you don't know better. You haven't done this before. You haven't been here before. So, and it creeps on you. So.
Absolutely. It's been so fantastic talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I think it's a really important one. It's an important one to realize that there's so much you can do to reset yourself. And the human body is the most amazing machine that just needs to be fueled well. And when you fuel it, it's incredible what happens.
Correct, and the food's good. Like I look forward to it. I've been through like I said, a couple of weeks of just eating all sorts of stuff and just whatever was at hand, and and what have you. And I was looking forward to eating my nice, clean food, and I'm back on that now, and so it's and enjoying every mouthful of it. So your body does actually figure out pretty quickly that, hey, this is actually good for you, and this is what I need, and this is what I want, and it does become your choice. Yeah, it does. It becomes your choice over other stuff, other things that you would have otherwise sort of gone for.
Yeah, same. That's the same. That's how I look at it all the time. Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Richard.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much, and I wish you guys all the best. And hopefully, maybe one day the medical profession or the government can actually acknowledge the value of this and look at working collaboratively with you guys to have it subsidized.
I think it would be amazing because it's just knowing your food list, just that one-time analysis just really can transform things for the future. And yeah, absolutely.
And you have enough variety so you can find those foods. Like my sister's back in New Caledonia. There's been a civil uprising there, and they've burnt so much of that country, so many of the businesses and what have you. So things are very, very restricted there now even, and she can still find the food she needs.
Yeah, and she's now got a whole new lease of life.
Whole new lease of life. Feels amazing, looks amazing. She's so grateful.
Isn't that awesome? Love it. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to hear more or find out more about metabolic balance or how you can find your practitioner near you, please do go to the Metabolic Balance website. But, join us again for more stories of how clients, such as the fabulous Richard here, and all of his friends and family are now also getting the benefits of MB. So, please do join us again. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.